Hello and welcome to another episode of Susfaction.
Yes, today is an Acela-centric episode, and I'm Kyle.
And I'm Isella.
And we're your hosts.
Okay. So, sadly, this story all begins with a very popular name, Margaret Sanger. She is known to some as the woman who fought for women's rights by pioneering research on birth control, allowing women to decide if they became pregnant. But unfortunately, there's a very dark side to this story. Today we're talking about the Puerto Rican birth control experiments. Have you heard anything about it?
I haven't.
Okay. It's only recently kind of come into the light. People are kind of like in an uproar. They're kind of outraged by the whole situation. Gloria Steinem's another name that comes up in defense of Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
And her defense was very much, I'm just going to go ahead and give you that now because it doesn't really like flow with the rest of the story. But Gloria Steinem's excuses that she made for Margaret Sanger was that she went along with the eugenics part of it just to get her, like, just so that she could get the whole birth control thing going.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily true, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So Margaret Sanger was a nurse, and she popularized the term birth control. She believed that there was a link between poverty and overpopulation. She got involved with a scientist named Gregory Pincus, who specialized in the science of mammal reproduction, and Catherine Dexter McCormick, a philanthropist, underwrote the experiment. At the time, female reproductive system was still largely a mystery to scientists, and birth control was strongly regulated by state laws that made it illegal to research or even distribute.
I don't know what's happening.
Is somebody moving in?
Yeah, someone is.
Oh, that's probably what you hear. Okay. Pincus and John Rock, an obstetrician, began working in secret to see if it was possible to use progesterone to prevent pregnancy in women. Progesterone is a hormone naturally produced by women while they're pregnant. So it kind of makes sense, like, oh, they produce this while pregnant. So if they already have this hormone in their body, will their body not will their body already think that they're pregnant and not try and like release eggs to make them pregnant, right? So he conducted a trial. Nope, I'm sorry. I skipped a step. It worked on rabbits. They did this test initially on rabbits in the lab, and the progesterone worked in preventing pregnancy. So then he conducted a trial on a small number of women, hiding it under the guise of being a fertility trial.
Wow.
He couldn't test birth control in the state of Massachusetts without fear of being jailed. So he tested it on this small number of women in Boston, and it seemed to have good side effects, not side effects.
Like a good outcome.
A good outcome, yeah. It seemed to be doing what he wanted it to do. So he thought, okay, great. The year was 1955, and they had just completed the preliminary trials in Boston on the new birth control pill. Prior to this, there was birth control, but it was not an oral contraceptive. It was all like the sponges, spermicides, discs, all those sorts of things that were an object put in place as kind of a shield or a barrier. They were all barrier or spermicide methods. None of them was an oral contraceptive until this. All right. To get FDA approval, there needed to be a large-scale human trial. But given the strong legal, cultural, and religious opposition to birth control in America in the 1950s, the prospects for this crucial step appeared dim. So they didn't think that they'd be able to do a large-scale test in the United States because many of the states, because it was up to the states, many of the states were against birth control.
Right.
Um, I'm sure there were plenty of reasons why, but most of them being the trying to be conservative and not promote promiscuity.
Yeah.
Um, so that summer in 1955, Gregory Pincus, visited Puerto Rico and decided that it would be the perfect place to hold trials for their new oral contraception. The island, a U.S. territory, was one of the most densely populated areas in the world, and officials supported birth control as a form of population control in the hopes that it would stem Puerto Rico's endemic poverty. There were no anti birth control laws on the books, and Pincus was impressed with the extensive network of birth control clinics already in place on the island. There were 67 clinics dispensing existing methods of birth control, the ones that we had already talked about,
Right.
and a large number of women used their services. Sorry, I'm out of breath. The clinics were owned by Procter and Gamble heir Clarence Gamble. You know anything about Procter and Gamble?
I don't.
Okay. Well, Procter and Gamble already has a not at this time, but now in the time we're living in, Procter and Gamble has sort of a bad reputation when it comes to these types of experiments or just Clarence Gamble was a huge fan of eugenics. So they don't have the greatest reputation now.
Right.
And they were involved in some other, I don't want to say Monsanto, not Monsanto, but there was another similar type of company that they touched that had another horrible story with it. um so yes, Procter and Gamble heir Clarence Gamble was the one who put in place the clinics around the island. Now, if you've been following any of the stuff related to racism and eugenics, you've heard the name Clarence Gamble. 1/3 of Puerto Rican women were sterilized, many of them involuntarily under policies that pressured women to undergo hysterectomies after a second child, policies that Clarence Gamble supported. His clinics focused on providing these hysterectomies and sterilizations because, for him, it was going to help lower the population and get rid of undesirable people.
That's crap.
Yes. Less educated women were desperate to avoid pregnancy and sterilization, making them the easiest target. The island offered a pool of motivated candidates and a stationary population that could be easily monitored over the course of the trials. Pincus also knew that if he could demonstrate, this part makes me so mad, that if he could demonstrate that the poor, uneducated women of Puerto Rico could follow the pill regimen, then women anywhere could too.
Oh, wow.
Pincus hoped that by showing Puerto Rican women could easily, successfully use oral contraceptives, that he could quiet critics' concerns that oral contraceptives would be too complicated for women in developing nations and American inner cities to use.
Whatever. That's so stupid.
Yeah. Okay. The base for the first trial was a clinic at Rio Piedras, previously known as the worst slum on the island, El Fanguito, the Little Mud Hole. It had recently been razed to build clean, white, 7-story buildings. This is gentrification at its finest. The new residents of this area wanted to continue to see it grow and prosper. They were eager to continue to improve the standard of living. Many American companies were building factories on the island, so there were plenty of factory jobs available for local women. Clarence installed clinics in the factories that women worked at to perform sterilizations while at work.
What?
Yes. So this story made me think of um this there was this factory here in the US where they had it was one of the economics classes that I took, or maybe it was the unions class that I took, but it had to do with allowing women to work in the factory. They didn't want women to work in the factory. So part of what they did, and this is had to do with human resources violations as well. Part of what they did is pregnancy tests in the factory to make sure that the women were not pregnant when they were coming to work, because they didn't want to be held liable if they lost a pregnancy or got hurt while at work while pregnant. Yeah.
That's
So
like an invasion of privacy.
yes, it was a huge human resources violation, human rights violation. Um and that happened here on the mainland. So but all right. So sterilizations were at work, where women would go in, have their hysterectomy, and then immediately go back to work. I am supposed to be having a hysterectomy, and they already told me I need to like chill for 8 weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine going directly back to work immediately after having a hysterectomy.
You have to heal. You can't just jump right into work after a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
Unless even if you have like a sit down job, you still need to recover.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Where did they get their test subjects, you might ask? Pincus began by testing women who had already given birth in one of Gamble's clinics. They called and offered them the pill over the phone, which seemed like a welcome alternative to sterilization. So they took it. And they also went door to door in the poorest neighborhoods and offered the pill to women who were under 40 with 2 kids. They had to already have had 2 kids. All right, so the drug trial started April of 1956. In no time, the trial was filled to capacity, and they expanded the trials to additional locations on the island. Although Puerto Rico was a predominantly Catholic island, people were far more concerned with the struggles of daily life than church dogma, and did not follow Rome on matters of birth control. At the time, most women relied on sterilization or abortion to limit their family size, and the pill was a welcome alternative. So there were mass sterilizations already happening in Puerto Rico at this time. The government was enforcing it, or kind of like there's debate, and it's in a few of the links that I'll put at the bottom of this, but there's debate as to whether the government was forcing sterilization or if people just felt they didn't have another alternative or another choice. But either way, it was the government.
They were definitely scared into believing that.
Yes, definitely. So, however, they did not inform the women that the pill was experimental and that they were test subjects. There was no such thing as informed consent. They marked Enovid, that's the name of the pill, as a safe way. They marketed Enovid as a safe way for married women to treat menstrual disorders. It was marketed as safe and clinically tested. It was a way for women to take control of their own reproductive health.
That's another thing that's crap. That they're marketing it as empowerment when it's really...
Yeah, they are. They're marketing it as empowerment. They're making it seem like it was already tested. Like they're making it seem like, hey, this new thing is on the market and we're going to give it to you.
Instead of, hey, this new thing we're testing on you.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. The pharmaceutical company, G.D. Cyril, provided the pills for the trial. Rock selected a high dose of Enovid, the company's brand name, for their synthetic oral progesterone to ensure that no pregnancies would occur while the test subjects were on the drug. So, high dose.
Wow.
It didn't say anywhere whether they dosed them higher than what they had tested on their Boston small group or even on the rabbits.
Yeah, they probably did.
But it sounds like they did because
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
yeah, they chose a high dose. So, all right. Dr. Idris Raceway was a faculty member at the Puerto Rico Medical School and medical director of the Puerto Rico Family Planning Association. She was in charge of the trials. After 1 year, she reported the pill was 100% effective when taken correctly. 17% of women complained of nausea, dizziness, headaches, stomach pain, and vomiting. She told Pincus that the side effects were serious and sustained, and she said that the 10 milligram dose caused too many side effects to be generally acceptable. So she told him there's too many side effects. Too many people are having side effects for it to be just like a one-off.
Yeah.
And you need to change it. The dosage is too high. That's what she told them. Pincus and Rock dismissed her conclusions,
Of course.
believing the complaints to be, you ready for this? Psychosomatic.
Oh my God. I was going to say, you either say hysterics or something like it.
Yep, psychosomatic. Meaning that they thought it was all in their heads or that they believed they were feeling sick, so they were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
The men also felt that problems such as bloating and nausea were minor compared to the benefits of the drug.
They're not the ones experiencing the bloating and nausea, so they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Pincus didn't feel like the side effects like nausea and or depression or even warranting a new formulation of the pill. So even depression wasn't a strong enough side effect for him to try and reformulate the pill.
Now that's crazy.
He was only concerned with proving its efficacy. Just as no investigation was done to find the cause of 3 participants' death,
Oh, wow.
no action was done to find the root cause of the side effects. 22% of the women dropped out of the trial due to the side effects, including bloating, weight gain, dizziness, nausea, bleeding or spotting, like during other parts of their cycle, headaches, stomach aches, and blood clots. 3 women died during the trials. There were no autopsies done, so it is unclear whether their deaths were related to the drug trials. But women who stepped forward to describe the side effects were often discounted as unreliable.
Of course.
Yeah. I think with blood clots having been a side effect, I'm wondering that's probably what killed those 3.
Yeah.
Because a blood clot can kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was an interview given in 2004 to some of these surviving women who had been part of this drug trial without realizing that they were part of a drug trial. And one of them said that she felt so dizzy that she felt like she was going to either pass out or die.
Oh my.
So, like, these were strong.
That's awful.
These are strong side effects, not just regular dizziness.
No.
Like, yeah.
That's like vertigo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Later, after discovering Enovid worked better with small amounts of synthetic estrogen, that active ingredient was added to the pill. But that wasn't until 1960. So, after these trials, I want to say after these trials, but it's actually in the middle of these trials. So in 1957, the FDA went ahead and approved the pill. In 1960, they changed the formulation and it was available in the United States. In 1964 is when they finally completed their trials. in Puerto Rico.
What?
Yep. And there's no reason as to why. No documented reason as to why it continued for 4 more years.
Wow. That's weird.
Yep. Like I mentioned at the beginning, Margaret Sanger was the pioneer of this drug trial that used the poorest women as guinea pigs. Now, Margaret Sanger is on record as saying that she was never against brown people, though Clarence Gamble truly was. Those were not her undesirables. Where many people in eugenics tend to focus on race or economic status, Margaret did not focus on race. She wanted uneducated people to stop breeding.
Mm.
She also wanted to breed out the mentally ill and physically disabled. As if somehow that makes her less evil.
Yeah.
It's not brown people, it's just the physically disabled.
Yeah.
But as much as she wants to fight it, Margaret once spoke at a Women of the KKK rally in 1926.
Ooh. Gross. I hate that.
Yes. So, was she against brown people?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But she adds to that she doesn't like uneducated people, mentally ill people, or physically disabled.
Yeah.
She likes them even less. Sorry, she's not the hero that we've made her out to be.
No.
In 1968, Puerto Rico was the place that had completed the most sterilizations in the world. And today, it is the 6th lowest fertility rate in the world. However, 51% of the Puerto Rican population still experiences poverty today. So what was gained by this stain on human history?
Your guess is as good as mine, Pumpkin. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know I'm considering doing an entire episode on eugenics, but I feel like some people might get mad.
Oh, well.
Bill Gates is a eugenicist. So, just a preview as to where that would lead us in the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So, a quick recap. In the 1950s, Puerto Rico birth control trials were unethical, large-scale studies conducted by Gregory Pincus and John Rock on poor, often uneducated women to test the first oral contraceptive, Enovid. Participants were not informed that they were in a trial, nor of the high-dose drug's serious risks. And that concludes the story of the Puerto Rican birth control experiments.
Well, that was depressing.
I'm sorry, but I feel like it needed to be taught. It was not something we learned in school because we never learned the truth in school.
Never. Why would they tell us the truth?
There's a really nice conspiracy theory about that, but about the way that U.S. history is taught in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can get into that another time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening.
We post our episodes every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, trust no one.
Question everything. And if you want to send us your stories to read on the podcast, we'd love to hear them and read them. You can reach us at suspectionpod@outlook.com. Again, if you want to send us your stories to read on the podcast, our podcast is suspectionpod@outlook.com. And we do have an Instagram.
Yes, the Instagram is @suspectionpod, and we have linked in our bio 3 different ways that you can listen. We have an Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. And we have a Patreon as well. You can listen to any of the episodes for free on Patreon. If you are a member, you can listen to our exclusive true crime episodes monthly. I guess that's it.
I guess that's it. Well, you have a great day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.